Hey internet, I am jumping in front of this video to make a quick little blurb. Um, there's been more engagement on these videos than I was expecting. I kind of thought that these would like float in the ether and maybe get like 50 to 100 views or something like that over a couple of months. That's how a lot of YouTube content goes, but it's there's been more engagement than I was expecting this early on. So, if there's anything that you guys want to see in particular on this channel, then let me know. I'll try and get things in the works. If I get enough suggestions, then we can make some subscriber goals. Who knows? I've been having a lot more fun making these than I was anticipating. So I'm looking forward to seeing what you guys have to say. And let's try and build a community here. Let's see if we can do that. I appreciate all you guys watching this stuff. And now back to your regularly scheduled programming. Hello, Internet. This is MTGO with another Lantern video. Did that sound like a sane person talking? I hope it sounded like a sane person talking. I had this whole deck list sorted out, and then I tried to tab out to see what changes I made from the last list that I made, and it's completely deleted all the sorting by mistake. So we're just going to deal with the default mana cost sorting in this deck. I'm just going to go over some quick changes from the last build that we made. This was the deck that I used in the last league. The changes that I had made was that I'd added preordains into the board, or into the main board. I felt like I wanted some deck smoothing that I wasn't really getting. Ancient Stirrings is a pretty popular card in the Golgari Lantern builds, and it kind of hurts not having some of that top deck viability where you can just dig 5 cards deep. Even though we have things like Whir of Invention that can just straight up tutor stuff, being able to do that early in the game to find extra pieces that you want in your opening hand is also really nice. And Whir of Invention is more of a turn 4, turn 5 card that you don't. It doesn't provide a lot of selection early on in the game. It's not very flexible. It asks a lot out of you. So, Preordain seemed fine. There wasn't anything exciting about it, but it served its role pretty well. There was a game where we were digging for a Thoughtseize. We bottomed both cards off of Preordain and then drew a Thoughtseize off the Preordain. So it did its job. It did look for specific answers. So I was happy with those slots. I was pretty disappointed in Spellskite's results. It just ate a lot of 1-mana creature removal that's running around the format right now. People are trying to find answers to a lot of creature-based decks, and Spellskite just kind of gets caught in the crossfire. So it's not really protecting against things like artifact removal for Ensnaring Bridge or Pithing Needles. It's instead just eating creature removal that's otherwise offline in your opponent's deck, which is unfortunate. What else did we consider? Oh, the most important takeaway, I think, was the Fatal Pushes. I was boarding these in the vast majority of games that I was playing. And my conclusion was that I think the meta is in a place where I want these Fatal Pushes on the main board. Even a lot of the tempo control decks, like Blue-Red Wizards was the one that made me make this decision, I think. They're running creatures that Fatal Push hits, and they're running very scary creatures like Tamiyo. Storm is running creatures that Fatal Push can hit in the main board, even if I decide to take them out later. It seems like something that would just be better off in game 1. So what changes are being made to the deck now? You can see the list right here. First thing that you're going to notice is that I did, in fact, move the Fatal Pushes to the main board. Spellskite got cut, unfortunately, as much as I love the Spellskite. I'll be keeping an eye out for a meta where it'll be useful again, but for now, it doesn't fit. Poor little guy keeps getting Fatal Pushed and getting shocked with a Galvanic Discharge over and over again. Other things that you're going to note is that Preordain is gone. In Preordain's place, we have Candy Trail. This is a card that I totally forgot about when I was considering Preordain. And it feels slightly worse, but I think it fits the deck plan a lot better. So, Candy Trail, it's a 1-mana artifact. It has typing Clue Food, which I guess tells you what it does. But when it enters the battlefield, you scry 2. And then you can pay 2, tap sack it to gain 3 life and draw a card. So the clue and the food portions are there in the sacrifice part. This seems pretty powerful for card advantage. It's tutorable off Saga if you don't want to grab anything or you're digging for a specific threat. I don't think that's a specific reason to run it, but that is upside. But it seems like really good filler in the rest of the deck. It serves a function very similar to what I wanted Preordain to be, while also helping to improvise for things like Whir of Invention. Just the very fact that it's a 1-mana artifact that sticks around on the table instead of being a sorcery is a big plus for this deck. It also bumps up the artifact count quite a bit. I think I'm running... Well, we can count. 1, 2, 23. There's 24 artifacts in the main board. That's a lot of artifacts. That's really helpful for Whir of Invention. And only 5 of them cost more than 1 mana. So Whir is going to be activated a bit more thanks to these candy trails, I think. The Fatal Pushes in the main board did end up pushing a Disruptor Flute over to the sideboard. I still like Disruptor Flute. I like having 3 Pithing Needle effects in the deck. I was just struggling to hit Disruptor Flute properly in the right situations. Very rarely was I casting Whir of Invention and searching for the flute. And I was more frequently tutoring up the needle with Urza Saga. So it just didn't really feel like it lined up super well. But I will want it in some matchups, so I've left it in the 75. If this wasn't a Disruptor Flute, it would just be a 3rd Pithing Needle anyways. What else got added? Stone Brain has come back into the 75 as well. There are some matchups where it's super relevant, and even in matchups where it's just okay and you boarded it in because you had nothing else to board it in, your opponents get scared of the Stone Brain. They don't know what you're going to name, and they're just going to assume that you name something important that they care about in their hand. So a lot of the time they over-evaluate the strength of the Stone Brain, and they'll target it with removal even if you don't really care about it in one way or another. Bonus points if it's Boseiju, because Stone Brain ramps you then. So, otherwise the list is pretty much the same. Before we get into game 1, thank you all for joining and watching this video. The reception to this has started small, but it's been very positive. If you decide that you want to build a Lantern list yourself, it doesn't even have to be Whir, just any deck that includes Lantern of Insight. If you want people to talk about it with, if you just want to, shoot shit about Lantern cards, the community Discord is linked in the description of this video. I'll also link the Mox field that contains this deck list along with notes that I make on deck changes. I don't update it super frequently nowadays, but all of the versions are in there. And my Twitch is linked as well. I haven't been streaming as much recently, but I stream sporadically. So if you want to catch me live and say hi, then, shoot me a little follow on there. I think that's enough to get in the first match. All right, time for match number 1. Time to spend play points. Oh, also, happy Canada Day, everybody. Okay, game number 1. We're on the draw. Starting hand looks good. We have a Shredder and a Bobble combo. I haven't played a starting hand with that in a little while, I think. My only concerns with this hand are that if they're a very aggressive deck, this Ensnaring Bridge and Whir of Invention together means that my hand is probably going to stay... Or it's probably going to have like 2 or 3 cards in it for up until turn 4 or 5, something like that. But the hand does a lot of things. Turn 1 Bloodstained Mire. What does that mean? I don't think I can read into that too much. Okay. I should think about this a little bit. I think I can go to turn 1 Thoughtseize. Turn 2 I can do a Shredder Bobble combo. Or do I bobble them first? What are they going to slam on turn 2 that I'm concerned about? Probably nothing. Maybe I just go turn 1 Shredder. Yeah, I'll just go turn 1 Shredder. Next turn I can Thoughtseize. This also gives me the opportunity to mill them. Oh, Commercial Districts. They might be on... Oh, they're on Storm. Okay. They did mill, so Codex Shredder is not going to try and mill them. That's a Ruby Medallion. Alright, I might get punished for not turn 1 Thoughtseize. Ooh, double Thoughtseize is actually pretty tempting. I think I want to shred their hand. I'll keep that. I'm going to lead on Thoughtseize and see what I want to do. That's a lot of ritual mana that they got going on over there. So what am I doing here? I might just take Reckless Impulse. Do I want to pass after that? Next turn I can Whir of Invention and get a Grafdigger's Cage. Yeah, that stops Past in Flames lines. Maybe I just do that. I don't have a lot of reps against Storms. This could be a mistake. But I'll put the cards up on the side here. Yeah, Manamorphose lets them redraw once, but if they don't draw gas right now, or like card advantage, then yeah, they're just gonna sit here. I'm trying to think. I don't need to main phase Graph Diggers, or main phase War of Invention into Graph Diggers. My opponent is on green-red, so they don't run reprieves. They're surveilling again. They bend another land. They cast Ral Monsoon Mage. That happens. They're just going to try and go now. So what I could do as well, I could wait until Ral flips over. I'll have to think about that, but I might Pithing Needle the back half of Ral, so if they can't ultimate, and try and do a line that way. I think it depends on what they play first. If they try and play out a Past in Flames, then I respond and get a Graph Digger's Cage. If they try and flip Ral, or if they just go for value, Ral enters the battlefield with an additional loyalty counter for each instant or sorcery you've cast this turn. So they need to get 6 instant or sorceries cast in order to immediately flip Ral. Shatter Skull for 1 is a desperate line. Okay. Targeting their own Ral. Sure. So they've cast 2 instants or sorceries this turn. That's 3 with Pyretic. Now they're hitting themselves in the face a lot with this Ral. Desperate Ritual, okay. Okay, they chose to just flip over Ral right now. Sure. I'll let the Ritual resolve. I can let them uptick. Yeah, that's fine. So they have 1 card in hand. So I think I'm just going to grab a Whir for 1 and just Pithing Needle the Ral right now. Cool. All right, that was enough. Oh. Apparently when your opponent scoops up while you're in the middle of naming something with Pithing Needle, it gets a little, the client gets a little mad. So, cool. We stole a game off of them. What comes in? Graveyard Hate comes in. Damping Sphere comes in. Soulless Jailers come in. Lots of cards come in. I think we can safely trim up to 2 bridges. Collective Brutality should probably come in as well. What comes out? Pithing Needle is great on Ral, but I don't think it hits anything else in the deck. Normally when I say that with Pithing Needle, I'm forgetting something. So, grain of salt on that. But we might be able to trim 1 Pithing Needle. I could trim a Cookbook. Cookbook isn't going to do anything. Vexing Bauble, they don't cast any free spells. They have a lot of cost reducers, but that doesn't make their stuff free. So that leaves 4 slots in the deck that we're trying to fill still. The Baubles are kind of slow, so maybe I just take out all the Baubles. I'm thinking about Ashiok too, but they don't tutor stuff in their library most of the time. The Graveyard Hate side is nice, but that's about it. So I think this is plenty of cards to board in. We should be okay with this. This hand has no lands in it. This hand has lands in it. In a more serious, on a more serious note, it has 2 Damping Spheres. So, though those are a bit slow, but we can interact with our opponent, which is good. It has a Collective Brutality for discard, and it has a Fatal Push to answer a Ral or an Archaeomancer that hits the table. I'm okay with keeping this. We could bottom an Otawara, I think. Now we can bottom the Delta. I don't need more than 1 black mana, I think. Well, the life total doesn't really matter a ton. It does matter a little bit, but Otawara has been bottomed. So they go turn 1 fetch pass. That makes sense. They don't normally have a lot of turn 1 plays they can make. I don't think I leave up Fatal Push this turn. If they play Ruby Medallion, I'll feel really bad not playing this Candy Trail out immediately. Yikes. I want 1 land. I don't think I want both. Oh, this takes up my next draw step as well, though. I think that's fine. I mean, we can bottom both the lands. I can function on 2 lands for a while, I think. Okay, they liked what they saw with their Commercial District Surveil. Yeah, okay, turn 2 Medallion. We drew the Pithing Needle. So I'm going to fetch this Delta. I'll grab Basic Island. Slam a Damping Sphere. I can't remember if Storm right now is running Nature's Claim or Pick Your Poison for artifact enchantment removal. If they're running Pick Your Poison, this Candy Trail is gonna put in some good work. Okay, opponent ran out of Reckless Impulse. Their exile revealed a Ral and a Ritual. They're playing their third land, which means that they can cast their Ral. And Ral is on the table. But they can't protect it, so I could Fatal Push. If I Fatal Push, that's the only thing I do this turn, though, because of the Damping Sphere. I think what I'm going to do instead is run out the second Damping Sphere. Really make sure that my opponent's going to have a tough time casting things next turn. And then I can Fatal Push the Ral next turn. The problem with this line is that I'm locking myself into casting one spell per turn, pretty much no matter what. Why did they pay 2 for that? It should only cost 1. Where's their floating mana? Okay, they flip Ral right away. Oh, did they splice a Ritual? They must have. Okay, they're going to go as wide as possible. So they have a Ren's Resolve in exile. Sure. They hit 2 lands in their exile pile. And then they have to pass again. Soul Guide Lantern's a nice draw. I think I run out the Soul Guide Lantern, and then I can just crack it end of turn no matter what. Because I need the card advantage. I'm going to exile their Ritual because they have 3 card advantage spells in graveyard. I guess we call them impulse spells. That sounds fun. Okay, playing their lands from exile. Ral goes to 5. Let's crack this to draw a card. Okay, Inquisition of Kozilek. Okay, Mycosynth Gardens is nice. I'm gonna need to start casting things sometime. So, what do I want to lead on right now? I don't think they're going off yet. So maybe if I Collective Brutality, it slows them down more. I can discard this Fatal Push that's not going to do anything. And just drain them as well. Discard Fatal Push. So the fact that they're on green mana means I'm not worried about Flage either. Oh, they're dealing with nothing in hand right now. There you are on the pure cost reduction plan. This game's going to be a grind. Okay, they get to Surveil. They bind a Ritual. I'm curious what their plan is right now. Are they just going to try and ultimate Ral? Is that the plan? Ral's at 6. I don't have to needle it yet. What am I doing if I'm not needling? I can sack this Candy Trail and see what I get first. Okay, land is good. I didn't care about what they had in hand last turn. Maybe I just Codex Shredder? And then if I Inquisition next... Yeah, yeah, next turn I can Inquisition and then Needle after that. It's funny how these Damping Spheres are hurting both of us right now. It of course hurts them quite a bit. Like, probably more than it hurts me, but... I'm curious why they're not running out more Ruby Medallions. That makes me a little nervous. Extra land is great. Play the land. Show me what you got. 3 Ruby Medallions, and their 4th one's on the table. So I had the illusion of choice there. Do I just Candy Trail again? I think I'd Candy Trail again, set up my draws. Actually, I want to fetch in response to this. I want to deck thin a little bit. Urza's Saga. I don't think I'm going to run them over with combat damage this game. But that does eventually become a Lantern. I could be digging for a Whir of Invention. Or Lantern. If I do that, then I think I'm in good shape. I don't think that's what I'm about this game. I don't think I'm about Urza Saga. We're too late. That could be a mistake, though. I probably could just settle for an Urza Saga. All right, they kept their card on top, so Codex Shredder is going to mill them in upkeep here. Ooh. They wanted that card bad enough where they needed to shuffle it back into their library. That's interesting. Okay, Reckless Impulse. Reveals 2 lands. Wow, they are fizzling so hard this game. Okay, Ral's at 8. So I'm gonna have to Pithing Needle this turn. Yeah, I'll just run out the needle. Running out the needle. Ral, Leyline Prodigy. I don't think that the Mycosynth Gardens can realistically target the Damping Sphere. You know what we're looking for right now? We're looking for a Soulless Jailer. Okay, opponent casts Manamorphose. Oh, did they run a Valakut Awakening? Is that why they're holding on to their extra Ruby medallions? Because they need cards in hand for Valakut Awakening to be optimal. Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, that's bad. Oh, and Ral's about to flip, too. Okay. I will crack the Candy Trail. Ooh, I'm gonna lose my Glimmer Void. I'll still have 5 lands, so I can Whir of Invention for 2 next turn and find a Soulless Jailer. But they could win this turn. So we found the reason that they're holding on to their Ruby medallions. Ooh, greedy, they're gonna plus. That's really good for me. Yep, Ruby medallion. Only one of them, though. Goodbye, Glimmer Void. Hey, it's a Soulless Jailer. Beep, beep. Editing MTGO is back. I swore I wasn't going to do this for any of my games, but this made me scream at the monitor, at least on the inside. Just a disclaimer here. I'm going to make a plethora of mistakes over the next many, many turns. So, this turn alone, I'm going to tap Mycosynth Gardens to cast a Soulless Jailer. Which means that the Mycosynth Gardens can't hold itself up to copy the Soulless Jailer. I'm going to also cast Whir of Invention for 1. I don't know why. I think I look for a Grafdigger's Cage, and I wasn't even really sure what I was going to be looking for. So there's just all around bad decision making going on, and that's just one turn. Like, it goes on for many turns, so be prepared. It does get better in future games, but it gets better, I promise. But it's this one's rough, so buckle up. Okay, back to main video. So here's what I'm gonna do. Soulless Jailer, and then I can Whir next turn. Their minus doesn't do anything anymore. And if they try and respond to the Soulless Jailer, then I can flash it, or I can cast Whir of Invention at instant speed. This only targets non-creatures, right? No, it can copy creatures. That's good to know. So Mycosynth Gardens next turn will be a second Soulless Jailer. Do I go all in on the Soulless Jailer plan? Do I just Whir of Invention again? No, because they might have another Brotherhood's End. I need to cast Whir. Oh, I can't Whir for another Soulless Jailer unless I burn a turn. If they hit a Past in Flames, they can cast Brotherhood's End from the graveyard, so I could just run out a Grafdigger's Cage. But if they play a second Brotherhood's End, then I'm in trouble. So I think that's okay. I think I'm just going to run out of Grafdigger's Cage anyways. Just go all in on the hate pieces. Oh, they can't Past in Flames with the Soulless Jailer out anyways. That was probably a mistake. Okay. I didn't need that redundant piece. The Mycosynth Gardens was already going to do that. I'm not going to copy Soulless Jailer yet. I will cast Codex Shredder. I think what I can do this turn is end step Mycosynth Gardens Codex Shredder. Or copy the Codex Shredder. The turn after that, I can sacrifice the Codex Shredder. And find a Lantern. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, I could Inquisition them. I am a little scared that they have another Brotherhood's End. They probably would have already casted that because the Ral. Yeah, they probably would have already casted that. Never mind. The game's got me nervous a little bit. I don't know what's happening. 5 mana. Shatter Skull? Oh, right, they run Shatter Skull. Oh, Shattering Spree. Oh, no. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I don't like that. Okay, everything's exploding. What do I grab from the graveyard? I think I grab... Damping Sphere is not going to do a whole lot against them right now. Maybe I grab Where. Where can find another Soulless Jailer if they whiff this turn. I kind of just have to hope that they whiff. I guess I could have milled myself with one of the Shredders and seen if I get a better option here, but I'm going to be drawing that better option next turn regardless. Okay, Ral. What you get? Okay, Wish for... What did they grab? Did they choose not to do anything? Oh, do they not have to reveal it? Oh, you may play a card, so they played Manamorphose. I think they have enough food where they just kind of win here. I'm just going to F6. I'm going to let them do their thing. Let's see. They got 12 cards left in library. It's trivial for them to get to where they need to go. Their storm count is 12. So I think it's just a matter of them casting enough spells to grape shot me in one go. Alright, they got there. They kill me. That's fine. So what went wrong there? I think I dirtled for too long. At some point, I think I needed to... Well, so the Ral was an answer that I needed to hit. I opted to cast Damping Spheres as aggressively as possible, and I think that prevented me from dumping my hand properly. I also bottomed lands at the beginning of the game with the Candy Trail when I knew that I was going to be taxing my own stuff and said, yeah, 2 lands is probably enough anyways, when I should have recognized that that was not going to be true. So I think that was less boarding issues and more just playing incorrectly. This has discard and nothing else. If we want to see a repeat of that last game, but without the deck building challenges, or the sequencing challenges, I would keep that hand. So I don't like it. This hand is much better. Stonebrain can look for Brotherhood's End. It can also look for a ritual. So I think Candy Trail's the odd one out here. What'd you keep? 2 rituals, 2 impulse effects, and a Metamorphose. Oh, that hand is pretty impenetrable to a Thoughtseize. I think I take the Glimpse. Because that lets them see the most cards. Okay, they play Wooded Foothills. Fatal Push is not the best draw in the world. I think I slam a Damping Sphere. It's either Damping Sphere or Stonebrain. They're not going to win on turn 2 with the hand that they have. I could strip out all of the rituals from their deck. Maybe I just run out Stonebrain. Be really great to find a Surgical. I would very much like a Surgical. They liked what was on top of the deck. That's the Mountain Pyretic Ritual. Uh-oh. So they found a cost reducer. Yep. And they can Metamorphose. Yep. And then... Oh, they're just going. Wow. They're just all in. Wow, so turn 2 Damping Sphere maybe was the play. They could still fizzle. They have 3 cards in hand. They do have this extra land that they can play this turn as well. Oh, no, this is turn 2. Never mind. So, they found a Ral. Yikes. Yeah, I should have played Damping Sphere. It's nuts. That's crazy. That is crazy. Okay, they hit... This is their exile. I'm trying to find a place where this won't... There we go. Their storm count's at 13. Is this until end of turn or end of next turn? This turn. Okay. So they have to run out everything. Okay. That was a turn 2 win. That's pretty crazy. That's my fault. I should have seen that. I did note as well, they had a very versatile hand. It could have been anything. So I probably should have slammed the Damping Sphere in hindsight. Of all the cards that we saw them play, none of them were sideboard answers. So that was turn 2 Damping Sphere, I think. Okay. That's okay. I'm not going to dwell on it too much. That was just the first game. We got one game in there. On to match 2. Okay. So it's 2 days later. I felt like I was making a few misplays in the first game. So I figured that I would take a day off, and then the next day I had some work to do. So I didn't get around to recording. So we've passed Canada Day. I was originally going to try and say Happy Canada Day, but I'll include it here. And this video is probably not going to be out until after Independence Day as well. So Happy Day of Freedom, North America, across the board. We'll just disclaim that right now. All right, match 2. We are on the play. I don't like... both of the Fatal Pushes in the main is pretty risky. Or, sorry, in the starting 7. Both Fatal Pushes in the starting 7 don't seem good. But there is a cookbook here so that I can discard stuff. I could go turn 1 Lantern, turn 2 Saga. I'm sure the Fatal Pushes will find some interaction. It's not going to be ideal, but you know, we'll try this for science. I don't know if this is a great hand to keep, but Saga plus Lantern seems good. The Fatal Pushes slow my opponent down. So Jeskai control. Oh, we're on Goryos. So I'm gonna draw a second Urza Saga. I'll run out that Saga. Plan remains the same. Cookbook is going to hit the table. These Fatal Pushes are going to be pretty mediocre. There's a third Urza Saga on top of my library. Alright, opponent does Surveil Land. There's a pending on top. They decide they don't want it. Oh, they're going to draw an Atraxa. I think I have to let that happen. So this Urza Saga... This is tough. I know that they have a prismatic ending, so I can't just fetch a Grafdigger's Cage right away. Opponent plays Philology Archaeologist. That's fine. I can't do anything about that. They milled Psychic Frog, Priest of Fellrights in a land. That is a weird summoning sickness. I can Fatal Push this. I don't need to make a food. I think I'm just running out of second Urza Saga. And passing the turn. Alright, they drew another Surveil Land, which we knew about. There's a Thoughtseize on top of their library. And they want to keep it. So I wonder what they're waiting for. They don't have a card draw spell. Or a way to discard their Atraxa, or they don't have a Goryos. Or they think I'm holding up permission. And they're just being cautious. I'm not really sure. Okay, I'm going to make a construct. I don't think that I used the cookbook. Or I guess I should have used the cookbook, because I'm going to draw this whir. I'm going to make another token. What am I tutoring? So I could run out the cage and just slow them down for a turn. Whack them for 5 this turn. Whack them for 5 or 6 next turn. That seems to be an option. I'm tutoring next turn as well. Well, if my opponent isn't comboing, that means they're probably looking for spells. So maybe I grab a Pixis. Try and bait out some removal. Run out another Urza Saga. I'll discard this. I don't think the Whir of Invention matters. So I'm just discarding the Whir so that this construct deals more damage. We're just going to try and maximize our damage points as much as possible here. So they did get Atraxa to work. Yeah, there's Atraxa in the bin. Okay, so I should have... No, they could have pendinged for 1. I'm thinking if I should have tutored out the Grafdigger's Cage, but they could have casted pending for 1, and then they could just Goryos right now. I'm not paying attention to their draw step. What am I doing? That's important. They drew an Ephemerate. So if they have Goryos, they can get the Atraxa to stick around. They have to do something this turn. These constructs will run them over next turn. Pending on the cookbook is interesting. So that means they don't have Goryos. I think. Another pending? Second pending on the lantern. I think I'm going to make myself shuffle in response. Because I don't want to draw another land. They're going to draw a Polluted Delta. Okay, so my tokens got smaller. Ensnaring Bridge is good for if these tokens die. Now I find the Grafdigger's Cage, I think. Because they just fired off 2 removal spells. Play a land. Go to combat. Swing with these 2. Do they have a Fatal Push? Something at instant speed to interact, or are they just dead? Oh, right, they have a Solitude. I knew about that. Okay. So they're going to take 5. Because this construct dies, it shrinks the other one. Oh, they get to blink it too with the Ephemerate. That's true. That's true. That's pretty powerful. Okay, they're less likely to be able to answer those Grafdiggers, though. I have to pay attention. They're going to Polluted Delta probably for another Surveil land. Yep. I have to pay attention if they top that card. They did top it. So on my upkeep, I mill. Or I use Pixis. Wow, this Solitude's going to clear the whole board. That's crazy. This Urza Saga is more than likely going to look for a lantern. Yep, they get to... that was a lot of blinking. Okay, they cast Thoughtseize. They probably take the bridge. I would assume they take the bridge. The Fatal Push is... it only really solves their plan B. Pithing Needle is interesting. I don't think Pithing Needle matters here. They have a priest in the graveyard, right? They do. Okay. I'm still going to make a token. Let's make a construct. I will grab a Lantern of Insight. They have a Grief on the table. I don't care about that. They have another Ephemerate. That's crazy. So on the bright side, I'm at 40 life. Alright, so they managed to get through all of the construct onslaught that I had put before them. However, we have established a Lantern lock, and their clock is incredibly slow right now. Even with the Grief, they're going to be dealing 6 damage a turn, and I'm at 37. That is a 7-turn clock. They cast their Grief. They probably take the Needle. Oh, they took Fatal Push. Okay, interesting. They're allowed to do that. I'm going to run out this Candy Trail. I do kind of want the land, but there are several lands in the deck. And I kind of want a blue land so that I can whir. So I'm just going to bottom both of these. Alright, there's another Lantern on top of the library. I think I'm going to Pithing Needle and name Priest of Felrights. Maybe this should have named Teferi. Actually, yeah, that might have needed to name Teferi. I am currently looking to cast Pixis, or activate Pixis on my opponent's end step. So I'm looking for a land, and I'm looking for a bridge. I do need to keep in mind that once this Lantern goes away, I don't have any more in the deck. I think I just draw this Inquisition. I don't want to make them mill their own land there. Crack Candy Trail. Awesome. Okay, they draw a Swamp. Philagi Archaeologist on top of their deck. The Swerve Invention can look for an Ensnaring Bridge, which I'm just going to do this main phase. Just look for a bridge now. Do I let them have a Philagi Archaeologist? This can dig for another Prismatic Ending, which gets very problematic. But I really want my Codex Shredder, so I don't want to Pixis that away. I don't think I can let them have the Archaeologist. Okay, Goryo's is fine, without any removal to get rid of the Grafdigger's Cage. I can also just Inquisition that away. Let's pass through this turn. No Goryo's for you. I'll mill them on upkeep. Same line of reasoning for this Philagi Archaeologist. I don't want them to have that card. Oh, well, they're going to get one anyways. Never mind. Yep, they get their Philagi. What do they mill? They get a Tainted Indulgence. Okay, end step, I'm going to crack this food. This second Ensnaring Bridge is nice. I don't mind them having Goryos. Okay, they're holding up their Tainted Indulgence for to interact with the Lantern Lock, or in response to the Lantern Lock. I need to get rid of this swamp. Thoughtseize is a great draw. Get that Tainted Indulgence out of your hand. Alright. We're grooving right now. We're about even on clock as well, which is really good for me. They have a Goryos on top, I have a Thoughtseize. I don't think I like my Thoughtseize, so on end step I'm going to choose to mill. They have a Gristlebrand on top. Me getting rid of that feels really good. Exile. I want to draw that Codex Shredder, so I'll pop the Bauble here. I still don't want this Thoughtseize, so I'm going to fix this in my own upkeep. Drawing the land isn't great, but... I gotta think if I let them keep this Tainted Indulgence. It can become a prismatic ending, but it only looks 2 cards deep. So I think I let them have it. Okay, they're firing it off now. They found a Thoughtseize. Awesome. End step, I'm going to crack this Polluted Delta and shuffle away the Talisman. I don't need the mana anymore. I don't like that River Tears on top of my deck. I think I'm more policing my opponent's draws than my own at this point. I have a Whir of Invention on top of the library. Life's good. This is the part of the video where I start cutting turns out, because game actions are less and less relevant. Let's Whir for 2. I'm not sure what I'm grabbing. I'll look for another Codex Shredder. That sounds fine with me. Play a 3rd bridge. They're still in the game, which makes me a little nervous, and I don't want to punt. I'm not going to aggressively mill them too much. They might be trying to burn out my clock, but they're not doing that. Do they run an Emrakul? Are they just waiting for Emrakul? Okay. I have another mill rock on top. I'm going to start getting a little bit more aggressive. Cool. Alright, they get the point. Sideboard time. Graveyard package comes in. Ashiok has a bonus as well, in case they try and search cards. They run a lot of fetches, so that could be relevant. I have seen the last video that I posted, Goryo's ran a couple copies of Buried Alive as well, and Ashiok's good there. I don't think Disruptor Flute does a whole lot. Curse Totem doesn't do a whole lot. It answers the Psychic Frogs and the Gristlebrand, but I think that's it. Torpor Orb might be useful. It is useful. It shuts off Atraxa. Maybe the Stone Brain and the Soulless Jailers come in. These are also graveyard hate, but as was pointed out to me in the Discord like yesterday, it stops Ephemerate, so that's really helpful. I think the Fatal Pushes can come out. They don't provide a super fast clock, so I think I can trim in Ensnaring Bridge. Cookbook can come out. They run Force and Negation a lot of the time, so Vexing Bauble is going to stay in. Candy Trail might come out. Or would I rather take out the Mishra's Baubles? Maybe I take out the Baubles. Candy Trail digs deeper, and I don't really care about paying 0 mana versus paying 1 mana most of the time. I do kind of want these Collective Brutalities. Last time that I played against this deck, I think I decided that I don't want the Brutalities, but they do run enough interaction where they could be useful, but I think 7 discard spells is probably enough. I'm fighting over the graveyard mostly, so we'll focus the interaction package with the things that win the game, but I should keep in mind that Collective Brutality isn't a bad choice. I like this hand. This is much better than the last game's hand. So turn 1 Thoughtseize, turn 2 maybe run out the Jailer, turn 3 try and get a lock going. The Saga comes out on turn 2. Okay, they've been an Archaeologist. That's interesting. What is going on over there? Goryo's Wrath of the Skies, Consigned to Memory. Those are all cards I'm concerned about. They're on a 1-lander. It's a little brave. So I'm not immediately worried about Wrath of the Skies because they're not near casting that yet. Consign counters something no matter what, and I want to slam Soulless Jailer next turn, and they're kind of struggling for interaction. I'm all twitchy. I had too many carbs for breakfast, and I haven't eaten anything since then. Alright, they didn't hit their land. What do I want to do? Maybe I try and run out of Vexing Bauble. If they drew another Consign or they drew a Force of... Oh, Soulless Shaler doesn't get hit by Force of Negation, so they needed to have top decked another Consign in order for them to counter this. They don't have Prismatic Ending mana either. I am liking my prospects in this game. So I think what I do here is lead on Vexing Bauble. I'm not going to worry about Construct tokens this turn. That's the next turn thing. I'm just going to run out these 2 cards. I'm going to fetch a Watery Grave on end step. Hit a land. Oof. Brutal. Alright, they found an Atraxa. I'm either looking for Graph Diggers or a Lantern. I think I look for a Lantern because I can just whir for the Graph Diggers next turn. I'm just trying to keep them off of mana. In hindsight, I probably shouldn't have played this Glimmer of the Void. Oh, they can't Wrath of the Skies anyway. I don't care. They could have found a Solitude. That's something I need to keep in mind. Oh wait, no, they can't pitch cast Solitude because of the Vexing Bauble, so I'm completely safe. I even get to Inquisition just to see what they've been drawing this whole time. I will take Wrath of the Skies. Yeah, I think I just grab more Mill Rocks, honestly. I'll just grab a Pixis. Try and keep him off of lands. You can have Solitude. No Delta. Priest is fine. Yeah, alright. Awesome. So I kept a sketchy hand game 1, and it worked out just fine. And game 2, they just got stuck on 1 mana, and we shut them out because we could do stuff. Those Saga tokens were so relevant in both of those games. That's kind of crazy. Okay, that makes me feel good. We at least got 1 win on the board. On to game 3. Okay, game 3, or match 3, we're on the play. This is an interesting hand. Does it do anything? It doesn't interfere with my opponent's starting hand at all, so there's no Thoughtseize. There's only half of a Lantern Lock here. I do like the idea of aggressive Codex Shreddering to Surgical my opponent, but... And I can just Urza Saga token block for a little while. How viable is Pithing Needle right now? Pithing Needle's okay in a lot of the meta. I'm gonna try it. I don't think I should keep this. This is, especially on 7, like, there's probably better 6s than this, but... Doing it anyway. I might aggressively exile the Ugin's Labyrinth. Just because they might Chalice anyway. Okay, opponent kept... They did have a Labyrinth in their starting hand, so it's good that we got that out of the way. Okay, opponent has turn 1 Stirrings, though. They find an Ulamog. So I need to find Ensnaring Bridge. Trying to go through their deck list right now. They run the One Ring, so that's probably what my Needle names. They also run a single copy of Boseiju. Actually, I don't think they have any way of interacting with Ensnaring Bridge other than Boseiju, so maybe I just name Boseiju. Oh, they're not running... Oh, no, they are running 4 Emrakuls. So Pixis is going to be a very important card to find in this matchup. I think I aggressively Codex Shredder them for now. Okay, opponent does a second Ancient Stirrings. Finds the One Ring. Okay, I might be on the Saga token beatdown plan. At least for now. Ulamog has like a massive Annihilator, right? Okay, so if they don't have a lot of expensive stuff in exile, then Ulamog doesn't have any Annihilator. Oh, but there is stuff in exile. Oh, it's just the Ugin's Labyrinth. I'm gonna mill them in response to this. You get a card. Ooh, Bridge is great. Okay, so I'm floating a mana this turn. I will look for a Lantern so that I can at least... Well, I don't care about what cards they're drawing right now. No, I need the Lantern. I need the Lantern before the Pixis even becomes valuable. Anyways, so may as well just run out the Lantern. I guess I should have attacked them first. Oops. When you cast a spell, target opponent exiles the top half of their library. Oh, I didn't read that part. Oh, okay. Doesn't matter. Oh, it's a cast trigger, so the through the breach doesn't matter. Okay. Cool. We won game 1. That was fast. Exiling... Oh. Okay. So the reason why Ulamog is scary is because if they put something under Ugin's Labyrinth, then that card is considered exiled. And then the Ulamog is scary. But if they don't have an Ugin's Labyrinth, which is the one way that they get a large card into exile to put counters on Ulamog, then it doesn't matter. So I got rid of their... We got lucky there. They had a scary hand that could have done some damage. So what comes in? They don't... The Sowing Myco spawn does tutor up lands, but I don't think that really matters, and... Well, I'm thinking about Ashiok right now. They do run 4 Emrakuls, so Ashiok might be good just because it constantly exiles their graveyard. They don't care about activated abilities on creatures. Their stuff is all cast triggers, so Torpor Orb and Damping Sphere are both not useful. Stone Brain is going to be good, naming Emrakul. Collective Brutality is good to hit their Through the Breaches, because that's a big component of their deck. They're running 4 Kozilek's commands. I don't see any Chalices in the main board, but that might mean that they're coming in the sideboard. Soulless Jailer is permanent cards in graveyards. Can't enter... Yeah, they don't care about that. So Soulless Jailer isn't coming in. I'm thinking about Disruptor Flute here. Oh, God. I only have a minute left. What comes out? I think Candy Trails come out in case they run Chalices. Actually, I should probably add the Disruptor Flute to answer Chalices as well. They might run Force of Vigor. No, they don't run Force of Vigor. They don't run enough green cards. Vexing Bubble can come out. We'll try it like this. This is a very interactive hand, but if my opponent Chalice is on 1, I might struggle. I at least have the Saga to get around it. Alright, turn 1 Chalice is available. Emrakul is under Ugin's Labyrinth. Okay, no Chalice. They find an Eldrazi Temple. This Emrakul under the Ugin's Labyrinth is something I need to be worried about, because they can put that in hand later and discard it to hand size. My life total is not very important, so I'm just going to find a Watery Grave. Cast Thoughtseize. This is what they're gearing up for next turn. I don't think I care about that. It's a 3/3. That's not very big. They're only going to cast it without the kicker. I'll just take the Ulamog. Next turn, I establish the Lantern Lock. They're going to try and kick their Myco spawn. They can... 1, 2, 3, 4... They can cast Through the Breach next turn, but they can cast it, but they can't do that and Emrakul. So I think I let them have the Through the Breach, and then next turn I can Collective Brutality. No, but I want a token. I want a construct token. Well, I can do that next turn too. Yeah, that's fine. They can have the Through the Breach. Yeah, I want to answer that Boseiju. Sure, you get your Myco spawn. Oh! When did they get that? Oh, they got a blind draw. I'm silly. That was a risk I didn't need to take. Well, that's embarrassing. They had 6 creatures in the deck that... No, 5 creatures. They had 3 Emrakuls still in the deck, and they had 2 Ulamogs in the deck. So I think that's something I still need to play around. Okay. Yeah, I forgot that they had a card in hand that I didn't know about. Surgical without a discard spell feels kind of bad. There's no Urza Saga to smooth out the hand. I think I shipped this. Oh, I left in Fatal Pushes. Those absolutely are dead cards. Yikes. Yikes, yikes, yikes. Inquisition slows them down a little bit because it takes their talismans. I think I go to 5. This doesn't do enough on its own. Okay, Thoughtseize with Surgical backup is good. This Fatal Push is going to go to the bottom because that shouldn't be here at all. Maybe I just bottom these 2 cards. I could take away Through the Breach forever. That seems pretty good. They'll eventually cast Eldrazi, but that buys me a lot of time. Yield until here. Looks like they drew another land. So I know about everything in their hand. Talisman, yep. So they're going to Myco spawn next turn. They have 4, 5, 6 mana, so they're going to nuke one of my lands. At least there's another land on top here. Well, it's Codex Shredder. So they're still running only 1 Boseiju. They have a Thief of Existence. I think that's it. Sure, you can exile my land. I do still need a bridge. So I'm a little worried about that. Well, if I keep hitting lands, I'm not going to be worried about that. Just run this out now. I'll name Seiju, who endures. I think end step I mill that Emrakul. I don't want them to have that in hand. Or do I aggressively mill myself? Because I'm going to need to find... Like, I want to look for an Urza Saga to chump block. I'm looking for... I could hit a Mill Rock next turn, which accelerates the odds of me finding the cards that I need. Well, actually, this fetch shuffle here is going to give me an extra look at cards, too. So I think I just draw the Polluted Delta. Oh, I should have milled them. Oops. Oh, wow. So they can just hard cast, like, any big Eldrazi. That's kind of nuts. So 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. They can cast Emrakul. That's insane. Oh, wait, they're scrying and drawing a card, too. I shouldn't have auto-passed. They're just gonna slam Emrakul. I am misplaying. I've misplayed. I underestimated what the deck can do. I'm just gonna die. They're just gonna cast Emrakul. They're gonna get an extra turn. And they're gonna swing at me for lethal. I had this game in the bag. I had this game. That's infuriating. End step, I should have milled that Emrakul. They never would have had a chance to... Oh, no, they would have had a chance to Kozilek's command in response. Yeah, because they Kozilek's commanded on my end step. Or on my end step, yeah, which means that they had to pass with a bunch of mana open. I think my Surgical on Through the Breach was also too hasty. I could have waited a turn or two to cast Surgical, which increases the likelihood that they draw a Through the Breach. I could have named Disruptor Flute on the Sowing Myco spawn, which would have slowed down my opponent's clock a lot. Maybe this is too far in the weeds. Maybe I I board in a Cursed Totem to answer the Eldrazi Scions. I think that my opponent is able to hardcast most of their Eldrazi with just their ramp anyways. So maybe that... I don't think that's the solution. They don't run Chalices. That was a big concern that I had, and they just never boarded them in if they have them. So I'm going to assume they don't have them because Chalice is really good against Lantern. But no matter. We're 1 and 2. I still have my spirits high. We can turn this into a 3-2 easy, I believe. I'll be back with game 4. Stepped away for a little bit. Oh, I still have coffee. Oh, fuck yeah. Alright. Game 4 with a coffee in hand. Oh, it's going to be cold, though. Oh, yeah, it's cold. Ugh. Cold black coffee. Alright, we're on the draw. The only land is an Urza Saga. I don't think I can keep this. I think there's a universe where like Urza Saga, Mishra's Bauble, Candy Trail can carry a hand, but most of it's gonna have to be colorless. And Thoughtseize, Inquisition, Ensnaring Bridge, War of Invention, none of those are cards that I want to have stranded in my hand until like turn 3. I also can't make Saga constructs, so mulligan. I still don't like this. Still don't like this. I don't like this either. On to 5. This is much better. I think Polluted Delta goes to the bottom. I'm pretty tempted to keep double Saga. I might just do this. I might just bottom to 2 lands, go turn 1, Dark Slick, Codex Shredder, and then just go from there. Alright, opponents on Eldrazi Aggro. I'd be curious what colors they're running. It that heralds the end means they're probably going pretty fast. Turn to Linebreaker? No, it's blue. Null Drifter? Null Drifter. I'll just hold them on their end step. I don't think there's any graveyard cards that I care about, so I'm just going to start milling them. Okay. So I have a Surgical now, so I'm inclined to do this right away. I feel like they would have casted an Eldrazi Linebreaker last turn. If they had one. Null Drifter's a little scary. Maybe I Surgical the Null Drifter. I don't think there's anything else I really care about in their deck. I'll take the Null Drifter. I kind of just want to see what's in their hand anyways, with the Surgical. Okay, they're running Wastegate Battle Mage. How many Wastegapes? 2. Wow, they're flooding hard. Okay, so I'm not running out the Ensnaring Bridge right away. Oh. Well, okay. I don't get a choice. So they ran out Wastegate aggressively. I need another land. Very, very desperately. Within the next 2 turns, I need a land. If I don't get that, then things get complicated. I would really like a Lantern as well. If I don't hit a land next turn, Lantern would be really good, because I have 3 Codex Shredders to help me find a land. Awesome. Perfect. Perfect. Let's see, they run 4 Thought-Knot Seers, so I think I just slam the Ensnaring Bridge right now, because they only have 1 card that can answer Ensnaring Bridge in their whole deck, which is the other Wastegate Battle Mage. Next turn, I play the Lantern, and we get this game locked. Oh, they have Flesh Rakers, too, so game's not over. I will need the cookbook. Alright, 1 Flesh Raker's in the bin. Yeah, I'll just make a token. Lantern. They can have Devourer. Let's pass to their end step. Mill engine is online. Cool. All right, they already get what's going on. That was fast. Torpor Orb might come in for the Flesh Raker. That's something from the last one of the last games from my YouTube channel that I learned, is that Torpor Orb stops the Flesh Raker. It also stops Thought-Knot triggers. It does not stop Wastegate Battle Mage. But Collective Brutality answers It That Heralds the End and the Flesh Rakers, so these are kind of maybes. Honestly, this deck is already pretty well set up to absolutely roll Eldrazi. They're on a full colorless mana base too. Like, their only colored sources are Unclaimed Territories, Secluded Courtyards. Like, it's all creature tribal lands. Their main way to win this game is going to be through Chalice. Vexing Bauble can come out. Cookbook stays in. Graph Diggers can come out. I don't think there's anything that I really want a Pithing Needle in their deck. The only card that matters is Ugin's Labyrinth. I can throw in a Disruptor Flute for that. Maybe we just trim the 1-drops, or a bunch of the 1-drops, and just add some 2-drops. Call it good there. Do I want Feed the Swarm? I don't think so. They have a lot of 3 and 4 drops, so Feed the Swarm is painful. Yeah, I like this. This works. Okay. Early Lantern Lock. Double Whir is bad. This is just a Lantern Lock that gets me to Whir eventually. If they run out of Chalice, this deck, or this hand is kind of dead. Also, getting to Bridge is going to be difficult with a double Whir. This has a Bridge. I'd probably bottom the Gardens if I keep this. It gets to Bridge quickly as well. It has Fatal Push to slow the game down, and it has Urza Saga as a backup. I think I like it. Maybe I could put the Bauble on the bottom. Nah, because if I draw another land, I don't want a third land in hand, so I'm going to bottom the Gardens. Sure, Devourer of Destiny. Look at the top 4 cards, put one back on top. Alright, they're probably going to stick Devourer. Oh, they kept in their All is Dust. Okay, turn 1 they have Ugin's Labyrinth, so they can go fast, but they didn't play a Chalice. That's pretty important. That's a big tell. I'm going to crack this Bauble in their upkeep. There's a chance that they can turn 2 Thought Knot. They're trying another All is Dust. That's really bad for them. Turn 2 Thought Knot. Yep. That's fine. Bridge is gone. That makes sense. Oh, I cracked the Bauble on their turn. I could have killed the Thought Knot. That's my bad. No, never punished. Okay. Run out Talisman. Well, that felt premature. But sure, alright. I'll take it. They did not have a lot of patience for Lantern in that game. They were playing very quickly, too, so they're probably just, like, grinding leagues or something. I can't say I'm upset. On to game 5? Alright, back-to-back off of game 4. I'm just going to go right back into things. I don't know what lessons I can really take away from that game. That went so quickly. Actually, LDP3. Did we play against that player before? Is that the same player from 2 YouTube videos ago? Like my round 1? Alright, the final match. We get to play. That's great. Okay, Gigantha's revealed on the other side of the table. So they could be on Domain. Some Storm decks are running Gigantha. How does this feel against those? This is another one-land Saga hand. I don't think I can keep this realistically. Everything else in here is gas, except for maybe the Needle. But if this is Domain, this hand is incredibly slow and bad. If this is Storm, this hand is mediocre. Slow and mediocre. We're going to 5. Okay, 2 lands, Inquisition, Lantern combo. I think I like what's going on in these 5. And then I just bottom these 2. What you up to? It is red-white mid-range. I think I'm taking the Unstable Amulet. No, I'm taking Static Prison. Static Prison is de facto removal against what I'm doing. Okay, so I read the deck wrong. I mean, I don't think my hand keeps were good in any matchup, really. So I'm not too beat up over mulling to 5, but... Okay, Lantern's out. They're drawing an Ether Hub. They have a second land already. This gets them up to 3 lands. I don't really care if they have an Ether Hub. Yeah, Codex Shredder's coming out. I don't want to draw the second Lantern. Okay, they do Arid Mesa. Shock and Sacred Foundry for Amptraptor. Okay. And then they're going to get an unstable amulet for that. And then they can pump up Guide of Souls, which means I can't block it anymore because it has a flying counter. Oof. Do I let them have the unstable amulet is the question. Alright, that one I always yield to. This one... They could spin into a static prison. But everything else I don't mind. I don't want them to get amulet this turn. I don't want them to get energy, ideally. Alright, they hit Fable. They can cast it too. So Guide of Souls isn't going to gain flying this turn. Okay, hit a land. That's important. I'm representing Saga tokens. I'm still at 17 life as well, which is good. Okay, they discarded a land and Flage and drew another land and an amulet. Yeah, they can easily swing in. I'm going to make a token, and it doesn't really matter. Because they're just going to cast Galvanic Discharge, bop the token. I still got to make them do it, but... So I'm taking 5. I'll go to 12. They're going pretty fast this game. I'm trying to think how I get out of this situation. I don't think I want the bell in any situation here. I don't really like surgical either. It answers Flage. It answers Static Prison. Do I shuffle for a bridge? I don't think I'm that desperate yet. I think I'm looking for something like... Pithing Needle can name Reflection of Kiki Jiki. It can also name the back half of a Johnny. Back half of a Johnny is kind of scary, but I can make them shuffle so that a Johnny's not an immediate problem. Actually, they didn't do the unstable amulet thing yet, so they can respond by exiling a Johnny off the top of their library. I could needle the unstable amulet, make them shuffle. Maybe we try that. And let that trigger clear. I'm still pretty far away, unfortunately, from casting Bridge. I need a land and a bridge. They're applying a lot of pressure in ways that I don't think I can answer. I don't think I win this game. I don't want them to draw a Johnny. Flage is scary. Maybe I just answer that right now. I don't want to give them any chance for shenanigans, and I don't want them to draw a Johnny, so there's no point in holding up until their draw step. I'll screenshot this. We get some better insight into what they're doing for game 2. Galvanic Discharge kind of sucks, but it's not the end of the world. Actually, no, because I'm never going to have enough lands for Bridge before I die to combat damage. They're going to blow up the token this turn. Yeah, I think I'm just dead. Okay. Let's go to game 2. So, I think my only real way out of that situation was to crack my Lantern when I still had 3 mana on a turn and just hope that I draw Ensnaring Bridge, which is a bit of a long shot, but I think that's my only out there. They just went too fast, and I had a 5-card hand that didn't interact with them well enough. First things first, this is not a surgical matchup. This is a fair mid-rangey game with a lot of diverse threats. Torpor Orb does come in. Curse Totem, I don't think comes in. Feed the Swarm comes in. Collective Brutality hits a lot of their stuff. So I'll throw it in for now. I do kind of like the Flute as well, because they have a lot of activated abilities that they're running. I don't think I need more than a single Grafdigger's Cage to answer Flage. Or a Cookbook. Vexing Bauble comes out. What else is coming out? They probably don't run Brotherhood's End because they go wide. They don't really want to blow up the entire board. So it's a poor sideboard choice for them, I think. I like the Fatal Pushes. Collective Brutality, they didn't... Actually, I can look through their deck. They don't have a lot of instants and sorceries that I care about. I'd just be running it as a removal spell. Oh, they're running Ocelot Pride, so they're like really aggressive. Maybe I don't board in the Flute because it's a 2-drop. And maybe I cut a word because this game's going to go pretty fast. Try it like this and see what happens. I would like to be on the play. Okay. So this hand is really awesome. Except that I have 2 black spells that I'm going to need to tax the Mycosynth Gardens for. So turn 1, Lantern. Turn 2, I play one of these things. Turn 3, I probably hit another land. It might not cast these, but at least it gets to the bridge pretty easily. This is an awkward hand, but I think I keep it. So I'm on turn 1 Mycosynth Gardens, turn 2 Urza Saga. I'm trying to think what sideboard cards my opponent would run that would make my day sad. I don't think there's a ton that I want to worry about. Like, there might be some, like, wear tear type cards. That their deck gets beaten up by Chalice pretty bad, so they probably have some way of answering artifacts. Cheap artifacts. They're on pure red-white. Alright, they stared at their 7 for a while, and then eventually mulled the 6. I wonder if they were contemplating keeping a slower hand. Maybe they're aggressively mulliganing for something like Static Prism. Alright, they kept 6, but they had to think about it. I'll lead on Lantern. I just want to see what they're drawing. I do not want to draw Word of Invention. Okay, turn 1 Ether Hub. Interesting. It means their mana is going to be a little awkward, probably. So I'm not drawing a land next turn. I think I run out the Codex Shredder and try and mill myself. The fact that my opponent went turn 1 Ether Hub means that they're less likely to... Oh. Turn 1 Ether Hub means that they probably didn't have good colored sources. Why did they scoop? Why did they scoop so fast? That was a free win on my part. Or for me. That was... I didn't deserve that. Yeah, I'll slam the wheel again. I think my sideboard decisions were correct. Slam the wheel? I'll slam this... I like what sideboard cards I have. This hand has no lands in it. Oh, you know what? My opponent might have kept a 1-lander or something last game, and they just didn't want to play it out because they saw a 2-drop on top of their library. Alright, opponent mulliganed very quickly. Oh my god, these Urza Sagas are killing me. I don't even think I can consider a hand like this. What is this? What is this silliness? It has Ensnaring Bridge, but if I don't hit a land on turn 3, and if my opponent has any interaction, and I can't Thoughtseize them with this arrangement of cards, then I'm dead. So I have to go to 5. Okay, this is at least 1-lander, but I have Candy Trail to go digging for stuff. I have a Talisman to secure the 3rd land drop. Cookbook is probably a later game thing. I think I bottomed these 2 cards. These are the most situational cards. Okay, turn 1 Guide of Souls. Sure. Let's secure a 2nd land drop here. I don't think I'm worried about Collective Brutality right now. I just want the Polluted Delta. Next turn, I can Talisman into Lantern of Insight. So their clock is much slower this game, it seems. Well, they might just have, like, an Ajani, and they were just waiting for a 2nd main. Okay, Amulet. I'll grab an Island with this Polluted Delta. Slam Talisman. If I run out a Lantern, that means that they get to see what cards they put under Unstable Amulet. But I think they're just gonna do that for passive value anyways, so I don't think it matters. Like, maybe I'm supposed to run out of Pixis here, but at least Lantern gives me some control over their draw step, even if it's not good. And it lets me Ensnaring Bridge next turn, if I deem that to be important. They don't have a way to attack my hand, so I don't have to run that out right away. So this is play, right? You may play... Yeah, so they could have flicked the Unstable Amulet here. Do I let them have a Static Prison? I don't think I want them to have a Static Prison. They could already have one in hand. So Ensnaring Bridge is still risky. This not being a land really hurts. Well, I guess I could Torpor Orb and Pixis. Oh, right, I have a Talisman. I have 3 mana already, so I can still slam an Ensnaring Bridge. Torpor Orb isn't the end of the world. I can establish a Lantern Lock after this turn, and they don't have a very fast clock at present. Sure, you can have a Static Prison. Oh, they're firing it off right now. I'm happy about that. That's fine. They're drawing a land next turn. So next turn I can Pixis, Torpor Orb, and then hold on to this Ensnaring Bridge. Are they going to Galvanic Discharge? No, they already missed their Guide of Souls trigger. I'm wondering why they're holding here. Like, they could have Galvanic Discharged on their own Guide of Souls, chose not to pay any energy, and then maybe they swing in for 3 instead. But they already missed that window. So we know they have another Sacred Foundry. Yeah, there it is. Yeah, the fact that they're not playing anything leads me to believe that they have more interaction in their hand. If they have Flage, they might be just waiting on the Torpor Orb. Oh, that's a good point, actually. Ooh. I gotta think about that. So they could just slam down Flage, get a 6/6, and then if they do have interaction, then they can exile Ensnaring Bridge, and then they get to have their 6/6 that Lightning Helix is what it attacks. That's tough. How many Flages do they run? They think they ran a full playset, yeah. Whereas if they Static Prison on the Ensnaring Bridge, I can still, like, move to Whir in the next 2 turns. Or just draw another bridge. I'm going to run out the bridge. I think I need to bait out removal. Are they contemplating whether or not they pay for the Static Prison? They might be trying to pump up their Guide of Souls or something and then doing Static Prison on the Ensnaring Bridge instead. This is an interesting game 3. Okay, they paid the energy. Okay, they did have a second Static Prison. Guide of Souls is coming in. They don't pay the energy, so that means they probably don't have many other energy cards in their hand right now. Alright, Elegant Parlor. Let's see if they top their Surveil. So Pixis is going to be important this turn. Ooh, Fatal Push is nice. I'll run out of Pixis. They might Amulet in response. No, okay. So I think I want to wait until they use their Amulet, or at least make them use it in their upkeep. Do you like that card? No. Alright. Oh, that's true, actually. They can't use the Amulet because they're spending 2 energy a turn on these Static Prisons. Okay, Ether Hub. I don't think I Fatal Push this Guide of Souls. I think I just cracked my Candy Trail. That's just a 1/2 right now. Gigantha's in hand now. Ooh, Thoughtseize. All Thoughtseize. We'll start with this. Wow, they had a 3rd Static Prison. Static Prison, Blood Moon, Gigantha. So I think what I'm doing this turn is that I take Static Prison with the Thoughtseize. I can run out Torpor Orb, and then if they decide to slam a Blood Moon next turn, then I can Collective Brutality using the Talisman mana. This is an interesting game. If they top deck a Flage, then this Torpor Orb is going to feel super bad. But if, like, I boarded it in for a reason. Like, every other card, it slows them down substantially. They only have 2 energy left for these Static Prisons. So, I might start getting cards back. That'd be awesome. They have to make some tough decisions here. Cool, I get Lantern back. They probably keep paying for the Ensnaring Bridge, though. So there's a Flage on top of their library. Oh, they're trying to bin the Flage. Okay, you can have an Ajani. Ajani's a lot worse with the Torpor Orb out. They kept Ajani on top. They could play Gigantha this turn. Or they could Blood Moon. They choose Gigantha. Okay, interesting decision to make here. Do I Pixis and try and aggressively hunt for an Ensnaring Bridge? I think the answer is no, because they can pay for the Static Prison this turn, and they cannot pay for it ever again. So I think my goal right now is just to hand dump. So I am going to cast... I do want to fatal push the Ajani as well. So I think I just collective brutality, drain my opponent for 2. Well, I can just kill the Guide of Souls. I think that's safer. What a wild game this is. Their static prisons are such a liability to them right now. Yeah, okay, so they can't pay for static prison after this turn. I'm going to take a beating off Gigantha here. They're going to run out of Blood Moon. Well, they want a Ajani first, right? Or, well, they had a Plains. It didn't really matter what order it is. I can Fatal Push this Ajani. Oh, and then I can even Thoughtseize away their Blood Moon. Hell yeah! Alright. Awesome. So that was a 3-2. So we ended up positive. I definitely threw one of those games. So this could have easily... Or one of these matches. What was it against? It was against Eldrazi. Right? So this could have easily been a 4-1 league. Granted, we got a lot of opponents that were very impatient to be winning games today. So a lot of people were scooping up early, like they just seemed tilted. It was weird. So maybe 3-2 is the correct, statistical average given the opponents that we faced. So, how did I like this deck list? First things first, let's talk about Candy Trail. I'm gonna be real. The first time that I saw this suggested, I think there was some stigma that I had with this card just because it's literally called Candy Trail. Like it looks like a children's card, and I think I was being too self-important and saying like, come on, look at this thing. Like it's a joke, right? But yeah, Candy Trail's a powerhouse. I can't believe I'm saying that, but this is a good card. It draw a card, gain 3 life is a really good stalling tactic, and if you have nothing else going on, like if this deck floods, which it does flood sometimes, that's a mana outlet, and it gets you a card deeper in your deck, and if your opponent is whacking you for 3 damage a turn, it buys you an extra turn. Against Burn, it buys you an extra turn. In the top deck wars. Like, I'm happy to have a Candy Trail versus Burn, compared to Preordained, where I'm not so happy to have it. Fatal Push in the main board didn't really see a lot of play this league, but it did see some, and I still think that there's enough decks running around in the format where Fatal Push is worth running. So I'm actually pretty happy with the way this deck list turned out. Sideboard felt pretty good too. It didn't really feel like there was ever any situations where I didn't have a lot of sideboard answers to things my opponents were doing. And if it did feel like I didn't have a lot to side in, then I was also pretty convinced that I didn't need to side out a lot of cards. So on the whole, this felt pretty good. Thank you everybody for watching. If you want to see more videos like this, I'm going to try and pump these out at least once a week. That seems to be pretty stable right now. We'll see if my work permits me to do so, because right now my work is in a bit of a slump, so I have more time to record stuff. I appreciate that these videos are getting some amount of traction, and I'm happy that people are learning from this deck. I think War of Invention is a bit of a kooky list still. I don't know if it's the correct list, but I've been having a lot of fun with these games. I like blue-black. It's just a fun color pair to me. And I appreciate that you guys are learning stuff along the way as well. So, do comment if you spot any mistakes or misplays. This deck is hard. I know that last video I even made a disclaimer, but I know that when I went through and edited the video, I'm certain there's mistakes that I didn't catch. Even when I reflected 2 or 3 games. Like, for example, the Lantern Community Discord pointed out that Soulless Jailer stops Ephemerate. That's something that I needed to keep in mind in the future. Like, just little things like that. If I say anything wrong, correct me in the comments. Make sure that other people aren't going to learn false information. I am but one man. So, yeah, thank you for watching, everybody. I'll see you next time.